Reddit by Reddit recap. What was that juicy hometown high school rumor that turned out to be true? People thought our vice principal was banging one of the security officers. Eventually we found out he left his wife and they started dating. So that was true. Another was that people suspected that our resource officer was a pothead. For anyone that doesn't know, our resource officer is an actual police officer with the city and not a regular security guard. Well, my buddy is a recovering drug addict. He apparently was selling weed to the officer back in high school. Not many people knew about that one though. Everyone was always talking about how the pre-calculus teacher and the algebra teacher were screwing around. They were both married, but students would see them smiling at each other, even kissing in the halls. Turns out they were married to each other. She just kept her maiden name. I didn't find out till a few years later when I saw him on Facebook. I'm pretty sure they knew about the rumors and specifically said nothing to dispel them for s and giggles. My parents have been happily married for 35 years and they work at the same school district but in separate departments. At a function, a parent saw them together and whispered to one of my mom's co-workers, "Are the art teacher and photographer having a thing?" The co-worker said, "I hope so. They've been together for 25 years and have 2 kids." There was a rumor that our AP economics teacher was having an affair with our married AP US history teacher. Rumor only grew steam when she filed for divorce just before graduation. 2 years after I graduated, my friend who worked at a daycare texted me a picture of the two of them dropping off her 2 kids. We were all at band camp and it was rumored that one of the girls in my class, 17 or so at the time, was pregnant. I laughed at the idea when I heard it. Sure, she had a big, baggy shirt on each day, but despite all the jokes, band camp is generally tough on the body. 10+ hours of marching each day, plus hours of music practice. She'd have to be far enough along that she'd know that submitting herself to that kind of exertion in the heat for a week was a bad idea. She left camp early and both she and her baby nearly died from what she put herself through. He was premature and had all sorts of problems, but thankfully, it turned out okay. The school and teachers tried to cover the pregnancy up, because her mom was rather influential, but when she came back to school telling her story and showing off pictures, that the biology teacher hated the principal so much that he repeatedly set the class tarantula loose to sway her away from visiting his part of the school. The head pom, who would go down on literally any football player, had a pregnancy scare, failed 12th grade English and moved to a different county to not face the small town shame of being the only member of the senior class to not graduate. That a 7th grader was bringing vodka in a water bottle and would drink it throughout the day. Yet turns out she brought 5 and got alcohol poisoning and had to be rushed to the hospital. That the vice principal was cheating on his terminally ill wife with a cheerleading coach. It was true and everyone knew. He got promoted to principal, moved his office to the conference room in the library. Conveniently and simultaneously, the cheerleading coach became the librarian. Buff. Not a rumor, but a kid in one of my classes told me he was going to tour with his brothers for the summer and wasn't coming back to school next fall. I thought he was full of S and told him good luck sarcastically. Kings of Leon are a pretty popular band, I hear. When I was 13 years old, a girl and a boy from my class stopped going to school for some days. As silly kids as we were, we started joking that they were getting together to make babies and ended up missing the classes. The boy was just sick. The girl was actually pregnant. School beauty pageant. Underdog big girl gets crowned. It was very after school special. However, it turned out that this happened. The winner's mom walked in on the judges saying that her daughter wasn't pageant material, freaked out and started crying, accused the judges of being size ist, and somehow managed to convince them crown her daughter anyway. The daughter found out and voluntarily gave back the crown to the runner-up who was the actual winner. It was pretty humiliating for all involved. Coach having an affair with a student. He got fired and she transferred schools. 2 students having sex in the back of the school bus resulting in boys having to sit on one side and girls on the other forever. 2 students having sex in the bathroom next to the gym. So many pregnancies. Like a disproportionate amount based on our school size. Kid goes to jail for armed robbery for 30 days but only does the weekends because he comes from a good family. Co-salutatorians because the original salutatorian was caught cheating on an honors course and had the honors credit taken away. I went to a really small school, so it's funny that there are this many. My hometown had problems. Wrestling coach owned a funeral home. A kid did an internship there and said the coach was selling body parts. Nobody believed him. Well, the coach is now in jail for selling organs and a S-load more things. Good old North Catholic. Edit. Yes, I am talking about Northeast Catholic in Philadelphia. As far as the kid doing the internship, I should have called it an apprenticeship. I know he wanted to be a mortician. From what I recall, he washed the cars and drove the limo, and after graduation he was going to get involved with the actual procedures. When my boyfriend was in high school, there was a sub there who was subbing while finishing college whose mom had been a teacher at the school for years. This girl eventually ends up ducking half the football team and has pictures of her tits going around. They let her resign instead of pressing charges. I'm assuming because of her mom being there for so long and because some of the students were of age. So a couple of weeks ago we hired a new attorney at the law firm I work for. It's her. There were rumors that the 40-year-old band teacher was romantically involved with a female student. All parties denied it and the administration bought it and apparently chalked it up to BS rumors from gossipy kids. A year after she graduated, he left his wife and 2 kids and married her. Edit. One of the really odd things about this situation is that this student was smoking hot and really popular. She was our school's female track star, captain of the volleyball team and an honors student. The teacher was middle-aged, a little overweight and kind of an average-looking nerdy type. She seemed like the type that would have her pick of any guy she wanted. She was really sweet and made friends with everyone, though so I'm sure she saw something in him that others didn't. The super smart girl who got into all the top schools was so depressed at an Ivy League because she was no longer the smartest person and had to drop out after 1 semester. It was a big deal because she scored an almost perfect SAT score and was the first in our high school to go there. That there was a GameCube with Super Smash in it hidden somewhere in the school along with a tiny TV and 4 controllers. One day at lunch my friend told me he found it and I didn't believe him. I didn't even believe it existed, but I wanted it to be true. So I snuck out of lunch with him and we went up through the theater and up into the room where they kept all the props for the plays, and sure enough, behind this big dusty couch there she was. It was like finding treasure except better. From that day on we ate our lunches there and played Smash until our thumbs hurt. That was senior year of high school and damn do I miss it. In high school my chemistry teacher came in high on acid. He ended up army crawling all the way down to the main office where the cops were called. The head high school principal was screwing a cheerleader and her mom while his wife was pregnant. He was asked to resign. He left and became the superintendent of another county. This one is really random, but here goes. That there was a group of kids, high school males, mostly football players, who called themselves the Ricky Lake Club, who would hide out in different classrooms, risking some serious detention time, to watch the late 90s Ricky Lake daytime talk show during lunch. A guy in my grade would constantly brag about this, and it became kind of a joke, but no one actually believed that it was a real thing because, I mean, come on, we'd all be going to the lunchroom and he'd go, "Sorry guys, it's Ricky time," and run off. We all thought he was getting high or something. So it turns out, this did actually happen, very frequently, and there were a substantial group of people sneaking off to do it. As I'm told, one kid, whose mom worked in the front office, stole a master schedule of the classrooms, revealing when they would be empty. Also, classrooms were never locked. This was well before 9/11. Lunch was at noon, which was when the show came on. The club president would BCC an email list each week saying what rooms to meet and on which days. Long story short, I was encouraged to join in the fun one day, so in disbelief I snuck out of the lunchroom to the back of the band room, the chosen empty room that day, which somehow had a TV, and sure enough, There were about 25 high school age males going up as quietly as possible at the TV watching the Ricky Lake show. Apparently this went on for all of my sophomore year without anyone finding out, until Mr. Turner, the computer teacher, stumbled in on the group and the whole thing fell apart like the end of Goodfellas. TLDR, an underground club at my high school called the Ricky Lake Club actually existed, where students utilized a stolen master classroom schedule to successfully dodge school authorities to watch the daytime talk show and quietly go up in random classrooms around the school in secret for a whole school year. Best comment of the day. There was a teacher at my high whom it was always rumored was a cross-dresser and would teach summer school at other schools as a woman. And mind you, this was in the 90s when something like that, if true, could be career-ending. He always had well-manicured hands and that was part of the evidence students would cite. I always dismissed it as ridiculous. Turns out a year or two after I graduated, he had the full sex change surgery over the summer and came back to the same school to teach as a woman. If there was ever a fuss raised over it, I never heard anything. I even knew some people who had him one year and her another. That teacher taught sophomore and senior level classes in their field. Most of the rumors were true after all. Funny thing was, that teacher was one of the few I ever had in high school that seemed like a truly decent person. So I was kind of relieved when the transition was well accepted. He was always sympathetic/empathetic, and especially towards students that were kind of out on the margins. So I hope she found what she was looking for with her transition.